The Wests Tigers podcast is brought to you by the Wests Tigers Podcast Forum. Join the conversation today at weststigerspodcast.com.au.
Episode number 457 of the West Tigers podcast. Back in the host seat. Nick, thank you very much for the midweek edition. I thought you did an excellent job and you got some very good feedback. So welcome to the world of hosting. Get used to it.
Is this a promotion?
Yeah.
To come with the pay rise?
Yeah, double.
Fantastic.
Episode 457. It is a post-loss edition of the West Tigers podcast, unfortunately. 21 points to 20, the final score. The Broncos over the Tigers. And 18-14, we trailed at the break. We've got a whole bunch of one-word submissions from the West Tigers podcast forum members. Thank you, everybody. We'll run through those shortly. Got some comments as well that we can discuss. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 5 one words. Josh, good evening to you. What have you got in the one-word category for us tonight?
Look, Joel, I was thinking about going with troubling, but I'm going to tone that down a little to concerning. I think it looked very much like the Souths game, and there was much like that game. There was a lot to like. I thought our forwards dominated again. I thought our defence was really good over the whole, 75 of the 80 minutes. But I'm a little concerned that once again our ability to score in the red zone was poor. There's, we'll get onto the details around the halves and those kind of things. I think, but that ability to dominate a match but not put it away felt like the Souths match in a lot of ways, and that's a little bit concerning going forward.
It did remind me a little bit of the Souths game, and the feeling in the pit of my stomach is exactly the same as that Souths game as well. Disappointment, and probably an indication that when we come up against a real quality team, even though they weren't at full strength, some of our flaws may be a little bit exposed. They were probably the two best teams that we've played, not maybe for 80 minutes in either performance, but they both tested us in a number of ways and we came up a little bit short. Nick, what have you got for us?
3 words, but I'll use them all in one go. Work in progress. So, there's so many different words I've thought of leading up to recording, but I didn't want to be too negative, and I could easily go negative. But to be honest, I still think we're a team that's building and a team that's trying to figure it out. So there was a lot of good stuff in that game last night. Obviously, there was some howlers that we'll probably get to, and I don't want to give poor Heamasi a bad time. He's only 18 years old and he's just starting out in his NRL career, but obviously that game should have gone our way. We were dominant for such a long period of time. We still don't figure it out or figure out how to ice moments and how to bury teams. And I think, like Josh just said as well, we haven't figured out exactly, how to make the most of our opportunities in the red zone. So work in progress, still learning. Hopefully comes to a pointy parts towards the end of the season where we do figure it out and we really start racking up some points and, annihilating opposition. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, because there's plenty of people that would say you don't want to peak in round 7. You want to continue to build towards the end of the year. We've just got to make sure that we're still in the race. That's the trick. We've got to stay at about that 50%. So beating Canberra this weekend, actually this Thursday, really short turnaround. I think it's a really vital game for the club. So we've got concerning, troubling, building, work in progress, red zone. I've gone for physicality, just for old time's sake.
What a surprise.
I thought there were times, and we should do the like maybe Joel's physicality meter, like how did we go in physicality? I thought we weren't as physical and as physically dominant as we were in the 3 wins. I thought we were a little bit off, and the Broncos are very strong runners. Like I know that the stats show a different story, but I've always felt like they were running with plenty of starch and plenty of purpose, and they sort of troubled us a little bit, especially in the backs, guys like Tony Staggs, Nick.
Just to comment on that, I actually disagree with you, and I don't like disagreeing with the boss, but I actually thought we were pretty damn impressive. I thought we rolled up the field really well. I thought Terrell May had
Oh,
his best game of the season. He
yeah.
was barnstorming, and I said a couple of pods ago, Terrell's not your barnstorming prop that's going to bust the line and keep going, and he's not going to barge over and score tries. But geez, he went close
Yeah.
last night. I thought he was really good.
Yeah, I actually thought you were going to go with the positives of physicality when you said that, Joel. I thought our physicality was great. I just think we didn't have the class. I'm surprised by that. I thought the physicality was probably the thing we did best last night. So yeah, interesting.
Well, yeah, it's funny how we can look at it differently. Like I felt at times like they were about to just run through us. So like they hard running, and they are, even though they're not full strength, quite a physical team. And I just thought we were a little bit off compared to where we have been. The hits we just weren't hitting as effectively sometimes as we have been in the last few weeks. I'm not saying that we were, from 100 to 0. I'm just saying we were probably 10 or 15% off physically. And I think there was maybe a bit of fatigue in that first half, end of the first half, which is probably where we ended up being such an important part of the game, the last 5 minutes, where we conceded those two pretty soft tries. I've got lessons here. Like, I think we learnt some lessons. I think a few things were exposed, and I think we're probably a few sleepless nights for Benji to sort of look at and sort of make some decisions. But lessons aren't necessarily a bad thing. Reality check comes to mind. It is a bit of a reality check. This is a really hard competition, and you've got some teams that have 4 really, really good players out and are still really, really hard to beat. I've got gifts. We dead set gave them some Christmas gifts. Like, that was wrapped up and put under the Christmas tree for them. And I hate that. I hate giving away gifts. And I've got Samuela. So I'm going to finish on a positive one word. I thought, again, just very, very impressive. And I'm going to ask the question. I was on the West Tigers Faithful pod last week, and we were talking about potential New South Wales West Tigers players this year. Surely Samuela's got to be at least thought of for New South Wales, Nick. He's just a cut above.
He is, and I was actually thinking that when I watched the game back this afternoon, because a bit like Josh, I had 1,000 beers last night, so I had to watch it to refresh my memory of what actually happened. But yeah, Samuela was incredible, as always. His ability to take a catch, when Dewey's putting up the kicks, or whether it's Luai, and actually, off the back of that, with throw an offload and lead to points is incredible. His attack in general is awesome, and he's such a strong defender. He's all the Fainu boys are such an asset to our club. But selfishly, I hope he doesn't play Origin. I think he's still a little bit young, still got a bit of learning to do. And I don't want us to be a little bit weakened going to that rep period, because you could probably throw in, I'm going to say it, you could probably throw in Alex Twal the way he's going. I reckon he could even find a bench spot. He could actually probably play 80 minutes for the Blues. But anyway, I'm getting off track, but there's a few you could pick out.
Yeah, Twal and Terrell could bring 80-minute games for New South Wales, even in Origin, I reckon. Josh, what do you think? Any chance?
I think Samuela's a chance. I actually think there's been a couple of injuries among the back rowers across New South Wales. I think it comes down to if we keep winning. So if we look forward to Origins, kind of, I think it's about 4 or 5 weeks away. I think if we win a bunch of these games coming up, I think then he'll be right in the mix, and deserves to be. I think, he's got amazing hands. He's big. He's strong. His defense has been good. He's been running hard. Him and Kai Pearce on the other side have been probably the standout players for us this year. I think if I look across our squad, there's some guys with a maybe chance of an edge of Origin, Twal, Terrell May, and Luai, obviously, given his history with Origin. Appy, they take 2 hookers. But I think Samuel is probably the one who, if I look forward over the next 5 years, he's probably the one who plays the most Origin out of any of this Tigers team, if anyone does. So, yeah, I think he's a chance to get his first run, whether it's in game 1 or later in the series. Depends.
We haven't won 4 straight in 14 years. So that's definitely the next big hurdle. And we're back to 0. We're back to starting all over again. But that's a huge record as well. 14 years since we won 4 straight games. I'm going to be a little bit more optimistic too. And I'm going to say, like, as much as it hurts and as much as it sucks, and unfortunately losses are part of every sport, I think we've got plenty to look forward to in coming years. Like I was sitting there at the start of the game and Campbelltown was full, and I'm thinking, okay, well, win, lose or draw, the club is a heck of a lot better than we were a couple of years ago. I think we as fans need to sort of remember that when we look back on this period, maybe in 5 or 10 years, we'll go, look, we weren't there, but we're on our way. And I just hope we keep moving in that right direction. And there will be some learning and some mistakes made and some difficult times, but I think we're tracking in the right direction. So please don't lose all hope with this massive 1 point loss that we've had to endure. Stats are an interesting one because if you said to somebody, you're not allowed to watch the game and you're not allowed to look at the score, but here's some facts for you when it comes to the stats. So the West Tigers had more possession, more runs, more run meters, more line breaks, more tackle breaks, a bigger set distance average, more kick return meters, faster play the ball speeds, more offloads, better tackle efficiency, and less missed tackles. You wouldn't say that that's a team that's probably going to lose. And I know it was only a 1 point loss, so that muddies it a little bit. But the stats lie, Nick, don't they? Because if you look at those, you'd say that's probably a team that's won by 16 points or something like that.
I think, to be honest, that's why a lot of Tigers fans are feeling pretty frustrated, especially after the game finished last night and today thinking about it and when I rewatched it as well. But you know what? I did think last night, geez, Brisbane's defending really well. Like the Tigers threw a hell of a lot of it at them, even though we couldn't sort of capitalize and convert, into more points as what we should have done. But I actually thought they defended really well. I thought the first sort of 10, 15 minutes, we had so much ball. We had so many repeat sets, which was getting to a point where I actually said to my mates, I was at a pub and I said to them, at what point is someone going to get sin binned? It was just getting ridiculous how many there were in a row. But yeah, look, I'm not going to take anything away from the Broncos. I know they were fairly depleted in terms of some players that they had out, key players as well. I thought Adam Reynolds steered them around really well as he does as a general. And they just know how to win games. That's why they're the premiers. So, it's hard, right? Because when I say work in progress, it's not just the team, but also for us as fans. Mm-hmm. We're not used to following a competitive. Well, we have actually seen, I'll take that back. Our team's been competitive the last 12 months, but now we're starting to figure out how to actually win football games. So this is all very new for us as well. So look, we should have got the Broncos last night. We didn't, but we'll take some learnings away from that. And, hopefully, I think we need to beat the Raiders this week, but we'll see what happens.
Well, we're a nervous fan base. It's the same as when we're leading by 24 points with 5 minutes to go. We're all doing the math. We're all nervous. We're all kind of like one loss and, oh, my God, we're going to be back down in the doldrums. But kind of, Josh, I'm getting a little bit off what we were talking about, but sometimes you kind of got to lose too. You've got to recognize that, okay, we drop a game. It's not the end of the world. Let's hope the boys can rebound on Thursday.
Yeah, look, hopefully we do rebound on Thursday. We've got a hard run coming up. It's a 4.5 day turnaround to the Raiders game on Thursday, and then we play Sharks away and Storm away, and a rejuvenated Manly, and then I think we've got a bye, and then we've got Bulldogs and Panthers. Like those next 6 games, that there's a world where we lose a lot of those. So we can't. I was really disappointed because I think we did everything we should have other than converted into points last night. So I think the forwards and the outside backs most of the outside backs did a really good job. And so I also go, look, we are sitting third, but the Cowboys have won 4 games and they're sitting 11th. So it's a very tight, congested ladder. And with a hard run coming up, I think we needed to take advantage of last night's game, a home crowd, a big home crowd. So look, and as you said, we are a nervous fan base. We've had a lot of experience with bad results. So hopefully it doesn't, but I was concerned about last night because I think that's a game we needed to put away for the end of the season. A weakened Broncos. I thought they played all right, but I think we should have won by. Like I watched that game and I look at it and look at the stats and look at how we played. We should have won by 20. So it's not the little things that, a penalty here or a field goal there. The fact that we weren't up by 20 when those things were happening, which is probably my biggest concern.
Well, harking back to that word concerning, there's a few things that have me concerned that we'll talk about shortly. A few things that I think we've been discussing, but we can now look at it a slightly different light. I was going to just throw back quickly to you, Nick. A quick turnaround. Do you see that as being a potential positive in that we don't have too much time to dwell on it, just put it behind us and get on with it? Or, two pretty physical teams, especially Canberra, like maybe 7 days might have been better?
Yeah, I'm a bit worried, to be honest, about that because our turnarounds have been quite short the last couple of weeks and it's getting shorter. So,
Yeah, 6
the
days,
boys,
6 days, 4 days.
yeah, the boys don't get a great deal of time to recover. It was pretty physical last night. Every game that we play is physical at the moment because of how hard we're running the ball and how much meters the props are making and how well we're defending as well. So, I think I was listening to. Might have been Triple M today, radio, that they were talking about the intensity the Tigers are playing with, and it's how it's ramped up from last season, which is very true. So, and also how they can't actually it was Gordon, I think it was Gordon Tallis talking about how Easter Monday they were up. And they've probably taken a little bit of time to get going again. Saying that we won a couple more games since then. We won last week and then lost last night, but at some point you're going to lose matches. Yes, we should have won last night. We didn't. We played the Premiers, even though they were depleted. We lost to South when we probably should have beaten them. We'll probably win some games. Hopefully, we'll win some games this year that maybe we should lose. But that's footy. It swings both ways. Really short turnaround. I am worried that if we don't beat the Raiders, like Josh was saying, that our next sort of month is really hard. And then I guess you're really going to get an idea after the bye, and we play, I can't remember who you said, Josh Panthers.
Dogs and Panthers after the bye. So.
We're going to get a really good indication of where we're sitting on the ladder. So I think our reality is probably 6 weeks away to find out where we really sit.
Just on a broader scale, just zooming out a bit, we talk about Brisbane and you talk about South, like there's a lot of guys in there that have been in a lot of big matches and know how to win big matches and are big moment sort of players. And I wonder, Josh, if that's sort of a little bit of a disadvantage that we have in that we've got Luai and we've got Appy that have been there and done it, but we don't have a lot of experience really in the big games. And when you've already couple a nervous fan base and probably a team that's sort of scared of losing and I think we went into our shell a little bit and we didn't quite handle the moment at times.
Yeah, look, that's always a concern. I think we're a team that, and not necessarily all the individuals, but there's a bunch of guys out there who are kind of used to us not winning almost on the field, and it sometimes does take a while to change that culture. And you saw last night, Adam Reynolds steered the Broncos around the field and just, played that fantastic halfback game and just kicked us out of the game, and that was really important for them. Because they were down on other troops, and so I think that was really impressive. But we've got a guy who's won 4 comps in our halves, so and we've got Adam Dewey who now has 120 games. We've got Appy who's won comps at 3 different clubs. Like, yeah, we do have some big game experience out there. Probably not surrounded by a heap of experience, but we do definitely have some big game experience, and those guys have got to take control in those moments and get us home.
We'll take a look at the opposite end of experience in a moment, but let's have a look at the West Tigers podcast forum. One-word submissions. Teddy S. Intensity. Against top teams, your intensity just can't waver. Tigers Stu said moments. Some went our way and some didn't. NatMax78, wheels. They fell off the wagon 5 minutes from half-time and Broncos had all the momentum. Barra said Makasini, 2 crucial errors gifted the opposition easy points. Peter A came out with lessons, an awesome effort. We're on the rise and learnt some lessons along the way. London Tigers, their word was Reynolds. He was the difference between the two sides. Our red zone attack is subpar. Tiger Lily said disappointed. Adam Dewey is a ball-playing lock, not a number 7. Mike went for Makasini as well. 3 errors cost us dearly, probably needs a break. LFC Tiger said unfocused. We lacked the clarity and intent shown in the last 3 games. Snake's word was failure, and that's by the coach. Mac Tiger rattled. We should have won, but we got ourselves rattled. So there you go. If you want to leave your one-word submission for the next game against Canberra, just jump onto the West Tigers podcast forum after the match, and we always read them all out on the pod. I think Makasini is probably the appropriate place to have a bit of a chat. It's a dangerous situation for a coach with a guy that's played 7 games and has that sort of experience, Nick, because if you roll the dice and you play him again and you say, I believe in you, and it happens again, you've got a problem. But then he also doesn't have the opportunity to rectify it. And it would be a bit of a shame to drop him to New South Wales Cup. But in saying that, it was a very, 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 very disappointing little period.
Yeah, it was like 3.5 minutes or 4 minutes before half time, and when Broncos scored those 2 tries to get back in. But yeah, the Makasini errors in the second half. When it happened, obviously at the time I was very reactive. I was I was yelling out, drop him, put him in reserve grade. But,
send him to Siberia.
Yeah, well, not that harsh, but along those lines of thoughts, I suppose. But look, I actually don't think Benji's going to drop him. I think it might do a bit more. I think it might do more damage if you drop him mentally than if you back him and say, go out and redeem yourself. I reckon he'll be on the wing again at Leichhardt for Thursday. Whether that's the right choice or not, I'm not sure. Actually, watching the game back, knowing what the result was going to be, I watched Makasini up until those blunders in the second half, and he was actually pretty decent. Like he took a couple of really good high balls under pressure. I actually thought he marked up fairly well. Everyone's targeting him though, and they're going to because he's so young.
Yeah,
he's so young. So look, he's got a long way to go. He's another work in progress example, I suppose, but he's got a long way to go. But these are life lessons and NRL lessons for him. They're hard lessons when they effectively cost your side a result, because those 2 mistakes in the second half, the first one led to the penalty, I think, where Broncos leveled up, and then the second one led to the field goal, which put them in front. So I feel sorry for Heamasi. I'm sure he was fine. I'm sure the boys will get around him, but yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see him line up on Thursday. Nervously anxious to watch him play on Thursday.
It started in 66 minutes when Buller put the pass to Makasini and he dropped it, and it was such a crucial point of the game. He dropped a kick, he missed a tackle, got taken into touch, all in the next sort of 6 or 7 minutes. It was an unfortunate period. I agree with Nick, Josh. I think Benji will pick and stick. And I think he'll be on the wing. Interestingly enough, like everybody was saying, we were all saying, let's get Makasini back on the wing and take some pressure off him, and he'll get him out of the centres. He'll be better out on the wing. And he looked more comfortable in the centres, to be honest.
Yeah, look, I think the kid has a huge future, and I think he'll play a lot of really good first grade, and I think he's got lots of potential. But a couple of weeks ago, we dropped Skelton because he made a bad error. We've all been very keen on Luke Lally being dropped because he just was making those errors. Makasini made 6 errors in an NRL game. Benji talks a lot about standards. I think if you're going to have standards, you don't get to waive them for an 18-year-old kid. Whatever the potential. I think he should be back in New South Wales Cup, and he'll probably come back to first grade after that. But I think 3 or 4 weeks in Cup is probably good for his development. If he's fit, I'd have Tavana on the wing instead of him this week on Thursday. I also think the short turnaround, like he's had a bad experience. It's 4.5 days. To put him out there again on Thursday night, I feel like that's putting a lot of pressure on the kid. I'd put him in Cup, give him a rest, give him a couple of weeks, and then when an opportunity comes up through injury or form, he can come back in. But I think you make 6 errors. Benji's talked a lot about standards. You got to uphold those standards. And if it was Luke Lally out there last night who made 6 errors, there would be no, he's only a kid, maybe we should this, that. We would all be calling for his head. And so to be consistent, I've got to call and say Makasini needs to go back to Cup 2.
Is Tavana ready to go?
I hope so.
Yeah, because we do need that pressure. So if Tavana's ready to go, the way he played those first couple of games, by all means, like Benji, give him another crack. maybe you're right. You've just swung me around, Josh. I think, yeah, maybe the best thing for Makasini is to have a bit of a spell. It has been a pretty quick induction of fire at the moment, so probably wouldn't hurt him. But Benji will make the right decision.
Yeah, I agree.
A Simpsons reference come to mind. You know, when I think it was Principal Skinner, the real Principal Skinner comes back, and at the end of the episode, they put him in a chair on the back of a train, and they tie him to the chair and send him out of town. That would have been Luke Lely on the Indian Pacific, heading out of Central. That's what we would have done for sure. But the only thing I would say is, do we actually know that Skelton was dropped because he threw that dumb pass, or was Skelton injured? Because I know that. Yes, I'm hearing you, Josh, and I agree. Like we're talking about standards, and there's a good case to make to say, well, you know, you haven't met our standards, and go back and work on it. But I don't think we know 100% that Skelton was dropped. I don't know if he did. Yeah, I don't. We just don't know that.
Well, if Skelton's fit, then he can come back in as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, pick the best one out of the other three, and who's ever performing best at training, and get him back in.
We'll find out tomorrow afternoon at 4:00. And then, you know, I don't mind. I'm kind of relieved that it's Thursday night. Like, I just kind of, let's not drag it out. Let's just get out there and see where we actually stand with things. We'll talk about, this will actually lead us into what I wanted to talk about next. So just a couple of comments here. Wayne on Facebook said, would have been better if our game management was better. We should have went for a field goal where we had the chance, but they ran to the corner and we got put over the sideline. Heamasi needs a couple of weeks in reserve grade to get his confidence back. Teddy S. on the West Tigers podcast forum, in my opinion, where we lost this game was the last 7 minutes of the first half. But instead of putting up attacking bombs, we should have been kicking defensively to the corners. I know it's good in hindsight, but we should have nearly put the cue in the rack and played field territory. Plus, the shifts late in the second half to our edges weren't the smartest when setting for a field goal was the go. And Mac Tiger on the West Tigers podcast forum as well, we probably need to play Adam Dewey like the Dogs play Crichton or move him to 13. Bombs aside, we missed Jock's kicking game tonight and we lost shape as well. We killed them in the stats that matter, just needed some better decisions and calm heads who could ice the game. So let's talk about the halves. We've all known that we were going to get to this point. And I sat here last week and I said, you've got to go with Dewey and Luai because of whatever reason. And in some games, it's a great combination, but in other great games where you're grinding out a win and you've got to play smart and you've got to play sensible football, I don't know if they really are the right duo to have. It's a bit of a headache. One thing I've got written in my notes is 5 tackles and a bomb, 5 tackles and a bomb, you know, just about every time. Nick, what do we think? I mean, I don't think it's working. I don't think it's working. I don't think it worked. And that's not to say that I'm not picking on Dewey. I thought Dewey had a good game. He was probably aside from Appy, like our best attacking threat.
Yeah.
Luai was really disappointing.
Yeah, first game back for Jerome, so I'll cut him a little bit of slack. At the same time, you know, he's obviously a marquee player on a hell of a lot of money. So when you've got 10 minutes on the clock and your opposition's just gone up by a point, you really do want your players like Uppy and Jerome to say, okay, well, let's at least level this up, or, you know,
take control.
To get it back to 21 all makes sense. So we had 10 minutes to do that. And I think, was it Wayne you were just talking about there, made some references to, you know, the fact that we made some poor decisions in that last period as well, where we went away from possibly creating for a field goal or setting up for a field goal. So that's very true. I have said the last couple of weeks too that you know, I would find it very hard to drop Jock the way that he played those 3 games for the 3 wins. I think, and I've said this as well, I think the 13 role at the moment, the lock in the NRL, is a bit flexible. I don't think it's you know, there's not a one size fits all for that lock position. We all know what Isaiah Yeo does at the Panthers. Look at what Alex Twal's doing at the Tigers, like 2 completely different players. I know there's a lot of jigsaw puzzles or pieces of the puzzle moving around if you start shuffling players here and there, but I would be looking at maybe playing Dewey at the 13 role. I still think he can do what he's doing in the 13. Maybe it's slightly wider, left to right. I'd let him roam both sides, and I know they were talking about this in Triple M as well today. I'd give him license to roam, and he could effectively play as... He's a ball runner anyway, which is what you kind of want from a lock or a back row sort of position. I don't want to stick him out in the centre because I don't want to just stick him on one side of the field. I think
He
we can
hasn't got
see
enough
what
speed for it. Yeah.
Well, once he gets going, he's got speed,
Yeah,
but he
yeah.
doesn't have the quick agility.
Mm.
Um, it's really hard, right? And it's just such a hard decision. Josh, I don't know what your thoughts are. I do know what your thoughts are. You've been saying
Oh,
Dewey 7, Romy 6. So
um, yeah, it's really interesting. I've kind of flipped and flopped over the last day about this.
Mm.
I think for next week, if you were to picking the team just to win next week, I would probably have Madden at 7 and Dewey at 6, and Jerome would get dropped. Um,
Wow.
but I think for the club going forward, you can't do that. And so I think you have to go with Adam and Jerome and stick with it and make it better. Do I think it's our best chance of winning next week? No. Do I think it's our best chance of winning over the season? Uh, and for keeping the team and the club, you can't drop your captain and your $1.2 million man. I don't want to move Dewey out to the centres because, as Joel said, I don't think he has the speed. I don't want to move him to lock because I think 12's been playing great, and I also don't think Adam. I don't know that that role suits him particularly well in the middle. I think his strengths have been kind of on that edge as a he's been playing a running 5'8", which is the same as Jerome's been playing, but he's been, and partly obviously because of injury, but Adam's been playing it very well. So, if I was only picking to win on Thursday, I'd have Jock at halfback and Adam at 5'8". But I think Benji will stick with the combination, and I think for the wider club, I probably would too. Um, but it's a challenging one, and there will be run out of weeks where you can kind of hold the long term view if they don't work it out between them.
Mm.
you can't drop Luai. He's your general. He does all the barking. He has an established relationship, which he set up pretty quickly with Samuela on the left edge. Um, he's a different type of player. What I love about Madden, and when he came on, I don't think he was on for very long. Was it even
No.
15 minutes in the second half? I
Yeah.
don't know if you got that
Yeah,
long,
not
but
long.
the way
Not
he
long.
straightens up the attack, like
5 runs for 35 meters. Yeah, in a little bit
he
of
runs
time he had.
straight at the defensive line, draws in the defender, and then looks for the ball out the back for whoever he's going to, create that second phase off. But I love the way Madden plays. The other thing with Luai as well, he's such a good defender. I think if let's say you're going to drop Luai, I think you probably weaken that defensive edge as well.
Mm.
So yeah, it is. For me, there's no argument in regards to Luai, but how you fit them all. I'd love to see Madden play. I wouldn't. For me, the only way to do it is to move Dewey.
The worry that I have is that if you move Dewey to lock, then you're moving Twal and you're moving out Pole, and you're starting a game, and you're really your only forward thrust is coming from Twal and from Terrell May, and I just don't know if that's enough. I think you need the third leg there, Josh.
Our forwards have been dominant all season. Even in the two games we lost, our
Mm.
forward pack have dominated, much more vaunted forward packs all year. Um, I just can't change the forward pack. Twal at lock, Pole and May starting, the two props coming off the bench. Because if you move Twal to prop, then Pole goes to the bench, and then you've got to drop Sione or
Mm.
Royce Hunt. Probably Royce Hunt. Is if you had to. I don't like that either because both of those have been coming on and really changing the game for us. I just to do all that movement and change up a forward pack that's been dominating. Um, you've got halves there. You've got to make a decision. So for me, we have to pick two, and those are the two we stick with. I mean, Benji did seem to move Adam out into the center. Well, he did. He moved Adam out into the centers. He did mention in his press comments that Herbert had a bit of tightness, but
Yeah.
whether that was true or not. But it also worried me that you've got a $1.2 million half, and you've got a guy, Adam Dewey, who's in the form of his career and signed up for 4 years in the halves, and he brought Jock Madden on to ice the game.
Mm. Mm.
What? Why? Why do you need to bring on
Mm.
a guy who played great the last few weeks, but why is he needing to come on to ice the game? Like
Mm.
Appy is there, Jerome's played one with it.
Why did Latu come on before Madden?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Strange.
Latu's completely the forgotten man in all of this as well. I think there's big headaches around that. I mean, and again, I'm not having a go at Dewey. 17 runs,
He was
159
good.
meters. He was really good, but
Yeah.
he's not a controlling halfback. He's not that guy that you need, and you're not going to win a premiership unless you've got a good halfback that is able to push the accelerator when the accelerator needs to be pushed and the brake when the brake needs to be pushed. And that's not to say that he doesn't have those skills at all, but it's just not naturally him. He is a good runner, but I don't see how it would work at lock, and I don't know if he's robust enough for it as well. It might break him, but I don't know. I'm not the coach. I'm not on the big money. It's not my decision. But what we really need, I'm sorry to say, is that we need more from the guy that we're paying the big money to, and that means, that means being better than what he was. And I know it was first game back, so we'll give him a little bit of a break. One thing I will say, I think the Broncos came with a fairly rudimentary game plan nonetheless, but you could tell that the West Tigers have been really good at the end of the first half. And I think they really shut us down and upped their tempo at that point. Like Royce Hunt, worst game of the year for us so far, 3 runs for 46 minutes and that for 46 meters. And that was totally different to what we've seen from Royce in the last few weeks. So I was really disappointed in Royce's game. 17 runs, 168 metres. Terrell, 23 runs, 236. Luai did make 10 runs, but only made 45 metres. And Dewey, 17 runs, 159 metres from Adam Dewey. I thought Terrell again was very good, but I would say, and it's hard to be critical of a guy that's played that game, but sometimes Terrell, just put your head down and just go for it and stop getting to the line and trying to look for the offload. I think that's one of the things that when I think back at the game against the Broncos and I think about our attack, I think we were a little bit frantic and a little bit impatient. And I think sometimes you just want your prop to just steady things up and just push it forward as Twal does. And I think that will make Terrell a better player. Just sometimes, Nick, I think he's thinking too much attack first, offload first, and sometimes we just want you to smash it down the field a bit.
Yeah, I think he did do that better last night. I think he did smash it down the field quite a lot. Am I reading it right? 236 meters, run meters for.
Yeah. I'm more predominantly talking about the red zone.
Yeah.
Where we don't necessarily want an offload at that point because it's not necessarily going to go to a guy that's in a better position.
This is where I don't think he's the barge over prop. And I know he's, like you're saying, he's got 2 to line now a couple of times. He did it last night, but he couldn't get the ball down. That's where I think Royce does it well. Polly does it well. Even Sione does it well when he's on. So he's a bit more of a lumbering prop, isn't he, Terrell? A bit bigger, a bit more of a ball-playing prop. I thought he runs really strong, but yeah, he does have an issue when it comes to getting down low and driving hard into a try-scoring position. But I'm not going to knock him. I love him. Love Terrell.
No, I agree, and I think perhaps we need to stop giving it to him in the middle of the field when we're 5 meters out. Like he's not passing it to himself. This is again where halves on both sides need to take control and be like, look, we don't need the prop forward in the middle of a play when we're 5 meters out trying to score, because that's not just Terrell. I don't think you need any prop forward, in that space. Like it's just, just get out of the way and. So I think the guys in charge in the halves and Appy need to take control of that and be like, just clear the way. This is for the guys with the trick shots. So
yeah, that's the old Warren Ryan, the trombone in the strings section. Sometimes you want that play, but sometimes you don't. But we just seem to, sometimes make a meal of it, which again highlights those red zone issues that I thought we had against South and we had against the Broncos. Both teams also pretty good line speed. They got up on us really well, but I thought we looked better in our red zone in games like the Warriors game where it wasn't Dewey and Luai. I also think we missed Madden sort of in having more of that roaming commission as well, where it's popping up here and popping up there. So it's another thing to think about. Benji said that some of the things that happened out there were unacceptable. I think you're probably talking about Makasini, maybe. He said lessons learned. There were some things to like. He said, despite the fact that they had a lot of players, the Broncos still had class, and they took their opportunities when they came. Ezra Mam and Adam Reynolds, anyone with those two, any team with those two in are going to probably score points. And Ezra Mam, I thought Josh in particular was dangerous with the ball.
Yeah, I thought both their halves were good, but look, I know they were the premiers last year, but they had Jesse Arthurs who was playing at fullback and only played 56 minutes. They had Payne Haas go off early in the first half. Um, they had Xavier Willison, who's normally a prop playing lock, played great, but isn't normally a lock. They had some guy called Josh Rogers, great first name, but playing at hooker. Their halves outplayed ours, and I thought they did well. And I thought Staggs in the centres, I mean, I was in the centres, but I thought he really put the fear into them. I thought May played well. I thought that was a really good battle out there, especially in May's first game back. So, look, they did have some class, but given the injuries during the game as well, that's something, and the players they're missing, that's something we should have handled. Yeah.
Mm. The white jersey again. I know we've gone completely way off the thing. But, what's going on there as Nick sits there in his Western Suburbs inspired West Tigers jersey? But was that a bit of a up yours again from somebody in the organisation, or how does that work, Nick? I don't understand it.
I'm not. I won't say up yours. Is this the second time we've got to see it this year?
Yeah, second time
So,
in a week at the same
yeah,
venue.
yeah, the same venue. Yeah, I know. I have no idea how opposing teams work out what they're going to wear. I don't know if that's dictated by the NRL, TV coverage, or whether the clubs say, the home team says, "Hey, I'm going to wear this strip. You guys need to wear something different." But um, yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, you could have gone multiple combinations to make it look completely different. But the more I look at that jersey, I actually like it.
Hmm.
This isn't it is a Western Suburbs themed jersey, but it is a West Tigers one, of course.
I
But
said inspired. I didn't say it was a
inspired,
West.
yes. There's a couple of magpies on the shoulders there too, just for all of our old
Yeah.
Magpies fans. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's kind of weird, isn't it? I kind of expect that we're going to run out on Thursday night at Leichhardt in the orange one now.
I think we will.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, we will.
It shouldn't be that way,
No.
but I'm hoping they mix it up at some point during the season.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will.
All we needed to do was wear the orange one last night and wear the black and white one
Yeah.
at Leichhardt.
Yep.
Odd. Anyway, what about the Richo meter? Very hard, I would suggest, to give a consistent score. Bloody awful, bad, average, good or great, Josh?
I'm gonna go good because I thought probably out of 17 guys, I thought 13 or 14 were really good last night, and I don't, I'm not saying the others were horrible. I think they just didn't quite aim up last night, and I think for different reasons as we've discussed. But I looked through the rest of the team. I thought Jareem Buller had a sensational game.
Yeah.
I thought Sunia Taruva in these like all season has probably been the best I've seen him play. Like I wanted to make sure I called that out because
over 200 meters. Yep.
Yeah, and he's just like in the centers earlier in the season and now on the wing. Like he is having the season of his life. So I've been very impressed with him. So I think good, not great because we didn't win, but we are still top 4. So I think good probably on the Richo meter.
I would say we swung somewhere between poor and good, Nick. At times poor.
Yeah, but look, most of it I thought was good. We didn't quite get to great. Some of it was diabolical. I don't know if diabolical's on the Richo meter, but maybe it should be. Just referring to a couple of those, errors by poor old Heamasi. But like I said, we played the premiers and we lost by a point. So yeah, we should have won the game. We didn't. We'll take some lessons from that and hopefully we'll come out and put some points on the Raiders this Thursday. It'd be nice.
Well, we are early favourites against the Raiders, which is
Again.
interesting. Yeah, again, about the same odds as what it was this time last week in regards to the Broncos game. That's obviously the Leichhardt factor, I would assume, and I've sat at Leichhardt and been disappointed, so I don't know exactly how much of an advantage that can be at times, including against Canberra.
Yeah.
One last question I thought we might just look at is, I thought in the week before that game that we'd sort of fallen back into the old habit of patting ourselves on the back. We'd won the 3 in a row. Some of the social stuff out of the club was a little bit more light-hearted. I would just wonder if it was, to quote Paul Keating, in the recession that we had to have. Like, I wonder, Josh, if that was maybe the loss we had to have just to sort of get our heads screwed back on, and it might end up, learn a few lessons, work a few things out it could end up making us.
Well, I hope so, Joel. I think, we'll find that out both this week, but we'll find that out over the next few weeks. Look, I think maybe the fans and definitely myself included had got very excited. I think maybe the social guys had. I'm not sure Benji, who was very grumpy after the Knights game, had perhaps felt that way. Yeah, it'll be interesting, but it all comes down to, one loss is something you can learn from, but if it stretches out to another home loss and then 2 games away against the Sharks and the Storm, who I know are having in different seasons, but still going to their home ground and playing them is tough. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So if it's one loss and we come back from it, fantastic. If it becomes a bit of a stretch out pattern and all of a sudden we're back down in the bottom 6 or 8, well, yeah, it's a different thing.
What about you, Nick? Did you sense that? Did you sense that we were maybe just not quite as focused? Or maybe we just thought we were going to turn up. We looked at the team sheets and went, "Oh,
that was in the back of my mind, and that worried me that we were strong favourites. It worried me that the Broncos had so many staff, X Factor players out. Back at Campbelltown again, another sellout crowd. Everything was going our way. It was great conditions. It hadn't rained, or it actually did rain a couple of nights ago here. I'm not sure if it did in Campbelltown, but and we don't do well, historically being favourites either. So, like you said, we've just got that tag again for this week against the Raiders, but we're going to have to deal with it. The more games we win, we're going to be favourites more often. So it's just another learning experience.
And it did, it was a week of firsts because we won 3 in a row for however many years. And it was a first because Madge proved that he can win a game at Campbelltown. So it is
welcome back, Madge.
Exactly. All right, guys, we will be reconvening very soon because we got the game on Thursday. So team list on Tuesday. So maybe Tuesday pod, but we'll see how we go. But keep your chins up and we'll see you again soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Joel. Thanks, Nick.
Boys.